No, that's a gunshot. That is definitely a gunshot, and that is close. Like, too close for comfort. Those ones actually sounded closer. Like, very freaking close. My. It sure has been an eventful week. I became an ant, and I narrowly avoided being shot. Okay, that might be a little dramatic, but I got a story time for you. Nothing could have prepared me.
This is going to be like one for the books of all the story times you've done. You've done some crazy ones.
Look, I was in the back of a 10,000 person stampede. We had an explosion at my building the day we moved in, right after my mom almost got killed by a boulder and I got hit by a car. I've had some like crazy stuff happen, and this is now added to the list. You know what? I was saying to my boyfriend after it happened, because he was a little rattled, and I was like, it builds resilience. It's one of those resilience building.
I was rattled. You were fine.
I was fine. I was less rattled than you, but I think that's because I've had more of these kind of things.
I was rattled on your behalf.
I appreciate it. Aw, it's because you would have missed me.
Yes.
That's love. So, if you're one of my Patreon members, you already know this story because I told it this morning on my weekly exclusive live stream. If you are not a Patreon member and you would like to be in on all of the tea, you can head to patreon.com/Molly Burke to see all the different tiers and the perks that I offer. I'm thinking of maybe doing like some stuff with my book over there. Well, I mean, I've already done stuff with the book over on my Patreon. Like, they knew I was writing this book for the last 2 years. Whereas for everybody else, it was like, surprise, I wrote a book. But yeah, so on Patreon, I do like exclusive videos, exclusive live streams. You get all the behind the scenes tea first. But I'm thinking of maybe doing something where like I read a section of my book over there, something like that. I'm going to definitely do like a chapter name reveal, revealing all 31 chapter titles over on Patreon soon. So head over to Patreon to join the fun little friend group we've got going on over there. And now, let me jump into the story. Oh wait, I forgot to remind you to pre-order the book, link down below. Okay, now we can move on. So, it was right around like 12:10, and I had gotten up early that day. So I had eaten breakfast like extra early. So usually I have lunch around like 1:32, but I was like, dang, I'm like real hungry. So I decided to have lunch early, and I like to sit outside when I have my lunch. And sometimes, like most of the time, I would say my partner and I eat lunch together, but sometimes our schedules are a bit off because he tends to have a really big breakfast and I tend to have a really light breakfast. So often I'm just like hungrier for lunch before him. So I usually will just go sit outside alone at those times and like eat lunch on my own outside, scroll on TikTok, enjoy some sunshine, get my vitamin D for the day. And Elton comes out and sits with me. So that was one of those occasions. That's what we were doing. I was sitting outside having some salad, and all of a sudden I hear a really loud bang to my like front left, like 10 o'clock. And I was like, that sounded like a gunshot. But I live in a neighborhood in LA that is pretty safe. Let's be real. No neighborhood in LA is like safe. And gun violence is ultimately something that happens, unfortunately, unpredictably throughout this country. And so it was one of those situations where I was like, that sounds like a gun. But then I was like, you're being silly. It was probably just a loud banging of sorts. So I go back to eating and scrolling, and then I want to say like 3-ish minutes later, to my right, diagonally forward, what I would say around like 2 o'clock, I hear bang, bang. 2 more bangs. And at that point I was like, oh, no, that's a gunshot. That is definitely a gunshot, and that is close. Like too close for comfort. Those ones actually sounded closer. Like very freaking close. And I was like, okay, Elton, up and in. So I sprinted inside, left all my drink, my food, my sunglasses, everything outside, just grabbed Elton and my phone and ran inside. And I was saying to my boyfriend, like I raced in the door and I was like, I think there's a gunshot outside. And he was in the hallway bathroom. So he's like, he could hear that I said something, but he couldn't hear what I said. So he like cracks the door and he's like, I'm just in the bathroom, I'll be out in a second. Like not realizing that this wasn't just a like, hey, I'm back. It was like a, hey, emergency perhaps, maybe, question mark? So he wraps up his business and comes on out like a minute later. And I was like, I think there was gunshots. And he thought I was crazy. Like, he was like, no, like no. And I get it because I gaslit myself when I heard the first one on the left. And he hadn't even heard them. And he was like, I would have heard them. And I was like, maybe not. And so he was like, I'll go out and grab your food. So he walks out, he gets the food, because I'm like, I ain't going back out there. Like, you can go get the food. So he goes out and he's like kind of like making some like lighthearted jokes about it. And he was like, you're being so silly. It's probably just the trash trucks. And he like looks, and the trash trucks, sure enough, are like right there on the street. And I was like, but I also heard them down there. And he was like, well, they probably like had to come around the corner. And he's just like rationalizing, right? Like coming up with all the reasons of what it could have been that is certainly not a gunshot. And he was like, what are you thinking? And I was like, hey, this is America. Okay? I feel like when you don't come from here, when you don't grow up with that, like I grew up in a country with gun control. And ever since I moved here 8 years ago, like I do, like anytime I hear a bang, like a firework unexpectedly or a car backfire, I do get that little like feeling, because it's just something that like it's not even like I'm consciously thinking of it, but just knowing where I am, it's just in you, you know?
Well, to be fair, even having grown up here, I still have those fears.
Yeah. Which is such a shame, but that's not the topic of today's video.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna get into that stuff. And so, yeah, he goes out, he comes back, and then he closes the door, walks over to the kitchen to put the dishes down, because I was like, I'm done eating now. And I was like, dude, somebody's yelling outside now. Like, I hear somebody yelling. And so he goes to the window and he's looking out of our front window, and across the street, slightly diagonally, that same direction where I heard the first bang, he sees this guy like waving his hands in the air and like holding a cell phone and waving and yelling. And he was like, I don't know, he's probably like waving to his friend across the street. Again, continues to rationalize. And I'm like, no, I swear to God. So I crack the door just slightly so I can hear. And I'm like, dude, he's literally saying, he shot. And then I heard a woman with like a blood curdling scream. Like, she wasn't yelling anything, she just screamed. And this guy across the street is like, he shot. And I'm like, I think he's on the phone with police. Like, and just as I say that, and just as my boyfriend is starting to like maybe believe me, woo, 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 boom, immediate sirens instantly. And where do the cop cars pull up? Not one, but two cop cars directly across the street, like right outside of our apartment, but on the other side of the road. And he starts describing to me, because this is now it's all clicking in for him. And he's like freaking out. He's like, oh my God, like, okay, the cops like got out, they went to the trunk and they got like their shield, and they start running again forward towards the same direction that I'd heard the banging. So basically they grab their shields and their guns, and that is when he was like, okay, we're getting away from the window. Like, this is something serious is happening. Let's get away from the window. So we grab Elts and we go into our guest room, which is like further away. It's basically like the furthest we can get away from that direction. And we close the bathroom door that's across from the guest room. We close the guest room door, and then we sit like on the ground in the guest bedroom. Well, I guess this is where we've decided is safest in the apartment. We're just barricaded into our guest room. Closed the doors, all the doors between us and the outside of the building. So we closed this bedroom door, we've closed the bathroom door that's out on the other side of the hallway, because the shots were that direction. So we're on the furthest side of the building that we can get with everything shut between us, and we're just gonna chill here until further notice. And that's immediately when I'm like, let's text our neighbors. We gotta make sure our neighbors know. Because I don't want all of our neighbors pretty much work from home. So I didn't want any of our neighbors like just going out to go for a midday walk on their lunch break or something, not realizing. So I texted the neighbor who lives in the building beside us, who was like in the same direction as the bang. She's the one that like collects all of our packages for us and stuff when we're traveling. She's so sweet. We're always in communication. Like, we were in communication all throughout the fires in January. So I immediately start texting her. My partner starts texting the other neighbors in our immediate building, which we live in a small building. And he starts texting all of them. He gets a text back from our immediate neighbor, like in this building, who's right beside our unit, who was like, I heard it too. I'm on the Citizen app. So I was like, oh my God, get the Citizen app. And then the one I'm texting starts being like, oh my God, I'm starting to hear things. So then my partner's downloading the Citizen app and like trying to sign in because I purposefully don't have like Citizen or Nextdoor because frankly, I feel like all it would do as a true crime loving girly would scare me. That's all it would do. It would scare me and I would feel less safe. So I don't need to expose myself to that. But at this point, it's like, okay, no, this is quite literally like in my front yard. I need to know what's going on. So he's getting that set up and my one neighbor texts me and she goes, oh my God, I just went to look out my window and the cop waved me back and mouthed, it's not safe. And so I was like, yeah, like we've barricaded ourselves into like one of the guest rooms, which granted was probably dramatic as hell. We probably didn't need to go that far. But you know, like stray bullets go through windows all the time. Like the amount of times you hear cases of somebody like being shot and severely injured or dying from a stray bullet that wasn't even intended for them. Like I wasn't taking no chances. So we're on the Citizen app and that's when we start seeing like all the updates and we start seeing like a live stream from somebody in one of the buildings next to us. And they're live streaming and we can see all the cops. They've blocked off the nearest corner, like the nearest major intersection to us. They have blocked it off and they have a bunch of police cars and like 8 cops-ish, all with their shields and some form of something in their hands. And then they start like looking up. They're all like looking up into the building. And it's like, we know what building it is and it is way too close for comfort. And obviously on the Citizen app, there's like different perspectives. If you've never been on it, it's essentially like different live streams that people are doing. There's also like text updates and stuff. But in this case, it was like, there was 3 different live streams that we kind of like were rotating between of different perspectives from people just within this area, filming what they were seeing from their vantage point. And there was one from a guy that we know. Like we talk to him every now and then. He walks by all the time with his little dogs. They're really nice and friendly. And he pops on our screen and we're like, this is so crazy. And he was in the building where this was happening. And basically like he had one theory as to who it was, but it wasn't obviously like it wasn't confirmed. So we're all like furiously texting the neighbors being like, oh my God, okay, this is what we're hearing. What are you seeing? Like everybody's going back and forth. And then there was like the big announcement. Like they announced on one of those like megaphones, like come out with your hands up. And so obviously the gunman, and we were like talking throughout this whole thing, like I was thinking maybe what happened was like they fired a shot at like the corner store and then started to flee on foot that way, but were being chased by somebody, like a vigilante justice kind of person, somebody who's way braver than I would be. And then the gunman turned back and like shot twice at them. And that's why I heard it from over there next time. Like we were trying to figure out like what could have happened. And what was really scary is like, this was midday, broad daylight on a Wednesday. This is noon on a Wednesday in what is generally a safe neighborhood. Like this is a family neighborhood. It's rather suburban feeling. There is, yes, many apartment buildings, but mostly small apartment buildings and a lot of houses, like a lot of really beautiful family homes that are like multi-million-dollar homes. And so this is a very suburban, calm area. This is not usually what we're used to. So this was even like more crazy that it's like middle of the day in this kind of area. And it was just so scary because there's a corner store and my partner goes to that corner store like right around that time of day, like midday-ish between like 11:30 and 1:30, I would say, at least once to twice a week to go get a Celsius, like an energy drink. So I was like, there is like a reasonable chance that like he could have been right in that area when those shots went off or when the incident went down. And that was so terrifying to me. And such a reminder that like life is so precious and anything can happen at any moment. Like don't take a single thing for granted. And so
the shooter was literally 200 feet away from you.
Yeah. The shooter was within 200 feet of me when they shot. And bullets can go far.
Oh yeah, that's not 200 feet is nothing.
It's nothing.
2 buildings away, 2 small buildings away.
I wouldn't even say 200 feet. Like
that's literally how much it said on the GPS.
Yeah, but I feel like if I counted my steps, it would be like 80. I'm gonna go count them later. I really am. Now I'm curious. How close was I to escaping death? Anyway, so this is all going on and they do the big announcement. We're like maybe 45 minutes in now and close to an hour. We're getting close to an hour after I initially heard the shot. And we're still watching the live stream. We can hear the like, come out with your hands up. And we're also hearing helicopters. There was helicopters circling this entire time as well. And we keep hearing like more sirens coming. But what we are not seeing on the live stream is any EMS, no ambulance. So we were like, is it a hostage situation? Either way, like it doesn't seem like anybody's hurt. And the report on the Citizens app was saying like gun fired into the air. So we were like really hopeful that nobody was actually injured, because we were like, okay, we were also confused. Like, was it the corner store or was it the building in front of the corner store? Like we couldn't figure it out for a little bit. Because a lot of the police were using the convenience store on the corner as like their home base. So we were also like, oh my God, like my boyfriend goes there regularly. Like if anything happened to any of the workers there, like he knows them, you know, like it's just too close for comfort, right? And so anyways, my neighbor ends up getting a photo and texting me, and she goes, they just arrested him. She texts me the photo, and my boyfriend described a white guy covered in tattoos, handcuffed with 2 cops kind of putting him into the car, is what the photo is of. And we were like, okay, we're good. Like it's all okay. And then within a few minutes, like I obviously like called my parents to be like, yo, crazy thing happened. My partner tried to call his parents. And then the neighbor across from us who we were in communications with came, knocked on our door, and she's like, it's all good. And she actually had talked to one of the cops. There was still a ton of cops around. And she had gone and talked to one of the cops and asked what happened. And he said it was a tenant in the building with known mental health issues who just had some kind of crisis and into the air. So we don't know if he did it just on his own or if he was doing it in a threatening way to somebody that he was confronting about something. We have no clue. But that's what we know. So after that, there was police presence for a little bit. We went grocery shopping, if like maybe 30, 45 minutes later.
Oh, that was what else was weird was I was thinking about leaving for the grocery store on my own.
Yeah.
Maybe a half hour before it happened, but I decided not to.
Yeah, or you were like going to go, I feel like right after you came out of the bathroom. Your plan was that you were going to go.
Yeah.
And so I would have been like home alone, which would have been even scarier.
Yeah.
Or blissful. I would have been in ignorance. No, because I would have heard like the shots still and the cops and everything. And the helicopter. It was like all very multi-sensory. It was noisy. And so, God, sorry, I'm just reflecting. How have I been caught in so many of these situations?
I know. That's what I'm saying.
The wildfires earlier this year, like.
This has been a crazy.
This has happened too many times in my life. Like these like really insane events. The only thing that I come out of it with is like, great, I got a good story for YouTube. Literally. It's a good video. I got a little more resilience, a little more life experience under my belt. But yeah, so when we went to the grocery store like 30-ish minutes later, there was like still a cop outside the front door of that building because we have to drive past it to go to the grocery store. Like standing with a clipboard, presumably like letting people know as they enter and exit like what had happened or like getting any statements. And we could see like some other cops like still interviewing some of the bystanders. But by the time we got back, it was like pretty cleared. So anyways, that's the fun that we went through 2 days ago. And I will say we were definitely not very productive for the rest of that day. But that's fine. You know what? Like, give yourself a little break. We had a glass of wine that night, watched some nostalgic Hannah Montana, and it was all good. Oh, also, I wrote a funny joke.
Oh, yeah. You should tell them.
Okay. Ready? I wrote this. So if you've ever heard this joke, I've never heard the joke. So I wrote it. It came from my brain. This is how I amused myself later that night. I was coming up with things like this. How does a mermaid give birth?
How does a mermaid give birth, Molly?
She has a C-section. S-E-A, a C-section.
Very good.
Stop, I'm so funny. Okay. If you'd like another story time about another crazy, chaotic thing I've been through in my life, you can click right over here to watch this one. Or if you want to see me react to people faking disability, you can click right over there for something a little more sunshiny. Bye. Stay safe out there.